Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Go ahead, I'll just open it up to questions.
What did you learn about your defense watching them playing a game that maybe you couldn't see on the practice field or you couldn't know until you saw it maybe in games?
Well, I think first and foremost, we want a defense that plays fast, and that's just understanding the game, understanding what we're asking of them. A lot of times we look at just by, the attempts of going for the ball. We got a couple of fumbles that we caused, so it appeared we played fast. I thought we played very good assignment football. They got some yards and points, but overall, I think that was the overall theme is that we played with really good effort. And I thought we played, based on the game plan, what we wanted to do, and we executed fairly well. There's never always there. There's things we got to work on, but overall, that part was good.
Is there a measure that you have in your mind? Because, as you said, they scored points. I think everybody would agree you guys played well defensively, but there's points, there's yards. How do you measure, or is it just what you see?
Well, I think missed tackles, busts, on the field, missed assignments, blatant things that are, guys left running wide open, things like that. I didn't see as many of those. There might be, single-digit number of those, which leads in the right direction. There were some areas, though, we were fortunate, but we made some plays. Like I said, clipped them up on a scramble here and there and saved it from being an explosive play. So I attribute that to the effort of the guys.
At least from our vantage point, it looked like Johnathan Abram played a pretty good game.
He did. I think he's getting more understanding the techniques we're asking of him. You could look at tape and see those techniques. He's in a good place right now. So it's just consistency now.
Yes, our guys talked yesterday about the difference between now Lamar and Ben, and obviously a huge difference, but both extend plays differently.
Yeah.
So in a short week to protect or to get ready for Ben as opposed to Lamar, can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's just a completely different offense that we're facing. I mean, very explosive, different style of quarterback, strong, can extend plays, like you said, by stepping up in the pocket. You have to have a plan on him as far as pressure, just like we had last week. So he's just very accurate. Does a great job with his quarterback, with his eyes, so it's a whole new set of challenges with him.
Yesterday, Max said that the defense was good, but it could be great, just in terms of its overall performance. What do you think is kind of the key in general to taking that next step?
Well, I think, like that 4th and 1, we had a bust there, and it was a big play. We have to eliminate those self-inflicted wounds. And I think when you do that as a defense, you have a chance to, even raise the bar even more. So, just like that play, we had a couple of those, I think, that keeps us from, I think everybody understands if they watch the tape that we still have a ways to go.
Anybody watching the film that you didn't notice in the game, but watching the film you thought played particularly well?
Phylon played pretty well for us. I thought he did a good job. Let's see, Corey Littleton did a nice job for us. I thought he played pretty well. We had some guys that just got in the program, like KJ, and Denzel Perriman. They did a nice job for us. So, the corners, did a good job staying on top. I mean, this is a very explosive offense, through the run and the pass. So, that was one of the keys. And I think those guys attributed, along with the rush, obviously Max and Yannick and the interior part.
Coach, going late to the game, you were down to about 2 defensive ends with Carl Nassib and Max Crosby, who played most, if not all, of the fourth quarter. Can you just describe the conditioning that you've seen from Max Crosby?
First of all, the D-line, the coaches did a great job rolling those guys. I think the big emphasis was fourth quarter rush. We needed that part of it, and it came through. So that's a great illustration to pass on the players. Hey, this is something we've worked on, and we had to utilize it, and it came through. So I give them a lot of credit, on the sideline. I think as a coach in that game, you could go up and down based on all the things that happened. But really, the defensive players, when they went onto the field, you didn't feel that up and down. It was more like, hey, we get another opportunity, so I give them credit for that. And, overall, I think there's things like that we can really showcase and show them, hey, this is part of it. We're not there yet, but, that's what it kind of looks like.
With so many defensive linemen, a good player might not be able to adjust out on a week-to-week basis. Last week it was Cleve Farrell. What does he have to do to get back on the field?
Well, he's having a good week of practice this week. I think for us, just monitoring that and deciding, at that point, maybe the needs, what we see. We felt like this was a team that could really just line up and pound us last week. So, that's on a week-to-week basis. But he's practicing really well, and he practiced well today.
pay attention to, new age stats and that sort of thing, but I know pressure rate, you guys graded out as a 54.5% of their dropbacks, you got pressure with just the defensive line, so is that individual effort of those guys just doing it? Is that them working together of, kind of working against the offensive line? How do you do that?
I think what Coach Marinelli, Coach Smith preach a lot is second effort. That's been kind of the motto all the way through training camp. And surely we needed it. There's a lot of second effort sacks and second effort pressures. And that's really around the league when you look at guys getting sacks. Rarely is it where they just beat a guy and make a sack. It's usually some sort of second effort. And, I think that group is really taking pride with that. Their second effort, they're hustling. When you see them on the field, even a run play or a short pass, you see them running. So their conditioning is really good, we felt like, and just the ability to keep guys fresh and be able to roll is so important, I think, overall for the D-line group. I mean, when everybody's playing, it's high morale, too. They feel like they have a role and they know they could have an impact.
You talked about fourth quarter rush being an emphasis, but also it's making a play. There were so many chances last year. I know that's been the past, but so many chances. You guys have a chance to make a play defensively. It just didn't happen. Like this time, several different occasions when there was a chance to make a play, you made a play. I mean, what does that say about your defense and where they are right now?
Well, I think, give credit to the players. I mean, there was different guys, that stood up and made plays. So that's even a better message to send, right? It wasn't just one guy. There was multiple guys that made plays. So we're just going to need that kind of effort. It was one game. It's a long season. It's not who we are yet. It's good to show them what it can look like, but we still have a lot of work to do. And I think they're probably their hardest critics, though there's a lot more left on the field. So it's really about being consistent.
You feel pretty good about your players adapting to your scheme after one?
They seem to be picking it up. I love the communication that takes place on the field. They seem to take ownership of it more. They've done a great job understanding the game plan and going out there and executing it. Everybody seems to be in tune. So, like I said, this week is a whole different set of issues that come up on a short week. So that's a challenge in itself. They're a very explosive offense, really good skill set at the wide receiver and tight end spot and running back. Quarterback, obviously one of the best that's played the game. So it's just a really challenging week for us right now in a short week.
Talk about the explosive offense with those young guys like Trayvon Merrick, who's going to be out deep, and Nate Hobbs getting tested by Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Are you excited to see what kind of challenge they'll have?
It is. I think when you look at them, it's banked experience. Even that 4th and 1, part of that safety in the middle is the racer tackler, and he's got to make that play. And just by his alignment and his angle he took, well, there's a banked experience for him. You'd like to have it a positive banked experience, but they can learn from that too. So hopefully, all these situations that come up are new to him, in our defense. So, he just needs to get some banked experiences in there and have some success and learn from his mistakes.
As you guys signed Damian Square, what did you like from what you saw from him during your time with the Chargers, and what does he bring to the table?
He's a guy that can play multiple positions. He can play nose, 3, big end. At this point in time, with some of the injuries, he comes in. I think he's a quick study, as far as understanding what we're asking of the position. He could step in and play, fairly quickly, if needed. So he just brings that part of it. Really tremendous leader. The D-line group as a whole, very, very good group. Very close-knit group, very into the details, and he brings that along with it, so he'll fit in good with that group.
Gus, you mentioned earlier that Clee was having a good week of practice. How did he respond mentally then, I guess, to being inactive in the game?
You know what? He is a true pro now. He was on the sideline probably being one of our biggest cheerleaders. He was outstanding. And I talked to him about that. He was fantastic. That's tough, to go through what he did. And, but his attitude, the way he handled it, great teammate, outstanding. Can't say enough about him. And so hopefully everything works out this week. We're going to, need a good dose of him, hopefully this week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Keep that offensive line playing at a pretty good rate this week.
Yeah, for us, it's always a next man up mentality, no matter what injury, who the injury is to or what position it is. So we got some guys that are banged up, but again, we feel like we've got pretty good depth on our side of football. And, fortunately for us, we got a lot of backups that had a chance to play in the preseason. So, we feel pretty good about our depth.
But speaking about guys stepping up, what did you think about Jermaine Eluemunor's performance after he stepped in for Denzel?
Right, fantastic, and again, we were lucky to get him. We felt like when we signed him. So he's a veteran player that's played in games, and we were real happy with the performance for his first time out without getting many reps or not knowing the system, not being here in the off-season program. So we were fortunate to have him and just can see him getting better every day.
How important was it for Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards to get involved the way they did late in the game, but also be there when their number was called?
Yeah, huge confidence boost for those players, and really huge confidence boost for Derek Carr in that situation. And when you can spread the ball around like we did in the second half, I think we're a much more difficult team to defend. So, the game, though it played out obviously started slow, but ended fast. And, we like the rhythm that we got into in that second half. So we'll try to continue that as we move forward.
What were maybe some of the conversations you were having with Derek and the offense in general? Just they stay with it.
Yeah, we were not staying on schedule. We had a lot of second and longs where we were not putting the ball in play or getting positive yards, so it was leaving us in some third and long situations. So we just kept talking about let's get in that rhythm and try to put the ball in play for Derek. It's we all know he's an extremely accurate passer and get them more of a mindset, especially on those second long situations. I've got to put the ball in play. I don't need to take the shot on this one necessarily. I'll put the ball in play. So, but it was a lot, there are a lot of things involved in that. He obviously didn't play in the preseason, so it maybe took him a little bit to get warmed up and to get going. But that was a big part of it, was just staying on schedule part.
You can almost make a crazy argument that you can throw it to 83 every play, like justified. But it's probably not healthy to be doing that. And that you kind of seem like it got away from that a little bit, spread around a little bit more as the game went on. Do you have that conversation with Derek about that?
Yeah, certainly. And Darren Waller's a fantastic football player. Done some amazing things and will continue to do amazing things. But we'd like, again, to believe that we've got a number of skilled players right now in Josh Jacobs and Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards has come on. So, we know that we've got some, and Derek knows that as well. If I spread the ball around to different receivers, we're a lot more difficult team to defend. So, just becoming more aware of that. And again, when he sees the production that those guys had at the end of the game, I think that's a big confidence boost for not only them, but for Derek as well in going to them.
How disappointing was it for you to have such success with Mariota and then not be able to have that package again?
Yeah, unfortunate for him, but he'll just he'll get better, and when we get him back, we'll again look to integrate him in the offense. But again, he's another skilled player that teams will have to defend. So we look forward to continuing with that package when he's back.
Greg, I asked the same question of Gus. After watching the film, was there somebody that stood out maybe in the game you didn't notice their performance, but you were pretty pleased with after watching the film?
I would say, Eluemunor was a big, factor. Like when you have someone come in like that and then you don't notice him. That's a good thing when you don't notice a player that goes in. I think there was maybe concern, or wasn't on our part as a coaching staff, but here you got a rookie right tackle starting his first game. And yet you didn't notice him. So there were some real positives there with our young offensive linemen. I would say those would be the two things that jumped out. So, and we know we like the growth in both Henry and Brian, and we knew it was just a matter of time, before we got the ball to them. And we've got a tremendous amount of confidence in both those young receivers. So we feel good. And Zay Jones, you could talk to any one of the offensive players in the locker room, and there's a lot of love for that player. And he's a tremendous player as well. So we're fortunate, in our opinion, to have the depth that we have. We need to get some guys healthy, and we'll be a lot stronger. But we're just trying to keep that arrow going up with this group.
For those young offensive linemen, how important is it to get actual game footage to be able to look at now and really be able to teach and learn from?
Well, it's huge, and also for those guys to play together. Again, it was by design. We wanted our players to be fresh, and we felt like our players were playing fast. Monday night, we felt like we were the faster team, and we liked our tempo. But it was also their first time playing together, and that's probably more important than anything, is to have those five guys up front playing together. Well, then you have an in-game injury, so you're adapting there. But the way that the way that we practice and the way that we substitute and that Tom works with those guys working at different positions, it really prepares them for those situations when someone goes down. So, but the more they play together, then certainly the more continuity we should have.
Touching on that young offensive line, what goes in the process of you and Coach Cable coaching up like a young rookie offensive lineman like Alex Leatherwood was about to go up against T.J. Watt and Melvin Ingram?
Yeah, it's a lot of film study. You know, Tom's got an assistant coach, Ken Cameron, who does a tremendous job with working with the younger players. You'll see him, you guys probably see him out there oftentimes, an individual or at the end of practice. He works often with the young players on pass sets or working games. But I think, again, the way that we practice and the way that we substitute during practice and throwing a young player out there to have to block Johnathan Abram or to block Max Crosby. Those guys are blocking two of the better defensive ends in the league every day at practice. So it's repetition more than anything, but for the young players, there's a lot of film study that's involved with our assistant offensive line coach.
So it looked like Foster Moreau actually had a pretty good game blocking, but he wasn't involved in the
Yeah, you know, I just mentioned it. He's really the unsung hero. I would say someone asked about what player. Foster Moreau, tremendous in the run game, tremendous as a pass blocker, and he's also a very good receiving tight end. He's just overshadowed somewhat by Darren Waller. But, you know, Coach jokes he's our Green Beret. You know, he does there. He's a special service, special squad guy that kind of keeps the group together. So we are real, again, happy to have him back. He had the horrible knee injury his rookie year, and he's healthy now and he's playing well, and we see his arrow going up again because he's still a very young player, but he's really important into what we're trying to do as an offense. Maybe the most important player. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Questions for John?
Johnathan obviously playing a new position for the first time on Monday. A solid game. What were your thoughts about your performance in that game?
I thought it was okay. Could have cleaned up some things. Couple tackles. Got to come up with a body part, as Coach Malo would say. Got to be cleaner in some run fits. Overall, I feel like we had a pretty decent performance. Kind of started out slow. Wild finish. We ended up finishing the game pretty strong, but we got to come out and do better this week.
You guys, on third downs, there were 12 times that Baltimore lined up on third downs. You guys won that battle 9 times. It's a huge, important aspect of the game, and it felt like you guys were connected in those moments. Do you feel like the leadership, the maturity of you guys, that's kind of coming together, especially in those kind of moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we focus on. It's a focal point for this defense. Win on third down, stop the run. You know, like Gus says, he has a sweet 6, and, you know, that's one important thing. In order to win the game, you got to eliminate the explosives and win on third down.
John, the Steelers have a pretty talented receiver room. What have you seen from them on tape, and what's going to be the key to slowing them down?
Some really great guys. They're going to take a lot of shots on the outside. Pretty much as far as slowing them down, we just pretty much got to do our job. Stay on top for the corners. Buzz drops, got to get a lot of good drops. Big Ben's going to look guys off, try to get you out your zone. And, man, pretty much got to keep your eyes on your guy, plaster situation. And that's pretty much it.
How difficult is it in a short week to have such a different style opponent? Obviously, from Lamar to Ben, totally different player, totally different offense. How difficult is that in a short week to prepare for?
I mean, every quarterback is difficult to prepare for. I mean, everybody has their own things they're pretty good at. Just got to, you know, start over, clean slate, take everything that we learned from last week, you know, put it away and prepare for this week for Big Ben. So, I mean, it's like that every single week. So it's not too much difficult than any other week.
Jonathan, several of your teammates and people in the organization said that you may have had the best offseason of all the players. How good did it feel to get back on the field and take a successful offseason and transport it onto the field?
Kudos to the guys who said that, but I mean, I feel like a lot of guys had a great offseason. I just pretty much watched the guys who pretty much done things right, you know, the entire time. So, I mean, but for me, I put in a lot of work this offseason, so, and I know we all did. So, I mean, for me, I was more so worried about how we performed as a team rather than how I performed. And we came out with the victory, so that's really all that mattered to me.
Do you feel a different confidence level in the group as a whole this year as compared to last year?
I feel a confidence level in the entire building. It's a total, you know, we got new coaches around, you know, guys who care about each other. We got some guys we brought in from free agency, some draft picks. Everybody pretty much, you know, we all understand our role. You know, we all trying to do our part to help this team win and, you know, get to where we need to be.
defensive line was flying around on Monday. How good is it to play behind?
I mean, that's the probably for a DB standpoint or a linebacker. I mean, that's the best thing. You know, pass rush. You know, rushing coverage works together. So you know, we encourage those guys. We take care of them. You know, we do our part, do what we can do for them. But I was super excited and super happy to see those guys flying around. You know, hope to see the same this next week and, you know, weeks to come.
You guys all set? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Jermaine?
Jermaine, after the game was over, you kind of said on film, I've been waiting 5 years to do that in terms of beating the Ravens.
Oh, y'all got that? Damn. Yeah, I did. Nah, I thought that was off record. Damn.
How did it feel to beat your former team?
It felt, it was a crazy feeling, you know, because when I started last year, right tackle, I went down, I think week 5 against the Broncos, but I had that week 9 matchup circled on my calendar against the Ravens, just because, you know, when you're playing your former team, you always want to show them what they're missing, in a sense, you know, you don't want to play bad against them and it'd be like, oh yeah, we're glad we got rid of him. You know, I wanted to put it on film that, you know, look, I'm getting better every single year. And, you know, it was one of those games I was waiting for. I didn't expect to play, but, you know, when I got in there, I was like, I got to make the most of this opportunity because, you know, if you followed me, then you would see I got cut in Miami, got cut in Jacksonville. And, you know, Jacksonville I was expecting, but Miami, it came as a shock. But I told myself, you know, the next opportunity I get, I'm just going to put it on the line. So, you know, coming to Vegas, I said, you know, whenever the opportunity comes, I'm going to be ready for it. So it was an amazing feeling for sure.
Max Crosby said yesterday the NFL is a crazy business.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of personify that a little bit this week with what you had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're playing. How do you process all of that and just be able to, you know, stay on task in that kind of a situation?
Yeah, it is a crazy business. You know, I definitely didn't expect to be in Vegas coming into this season, but I'm really happy I'm here. You know, I always say God works in mysterious ways, and I feel like this was a blessing in disguise for me to be here. But, you know, I've started a lot of games in this league, going against a lot of great players, so it's not new to me starting. You know, I started at guard my rookie year, started at tackle last year, so starting isn't new to me. Preparing for games isn't new to me. It's just something I'm used to now. So I don't think there will be any, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think there will be anything different I have to do or, you know, a different approach. I'll just do what I've been doing. So, you know, I'm excited about the opportunity.
Man, you did join kind of the team a little bit late in the offseason. What's going into just coming up to speed on the scheme the last couple of weeks?
I've definitely taken pride in, you know, learning schemes because New England was a really hard scheme, and it took me a little bit to get used to that. But I told myself, you know, once I get this scheme down, I don't see any scheme in the league being as hard. You know, Vegas definitely has a bunch of things we do here, but I like to think I'm intelligent. So I have ways of learning different schemes pretty quickly. There's definitely some things I'm still learning on the go, but, you know, it helps having Andre and Colton and John and Richie and even Alex because he's really smart too. It helps having them around me because, you know, they make it easier.
The blind rooms are always typically close,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a teamwork-oriented position. Did they embrace you pretty quickly, and how's the process going?
That's one thing that's cool about being an offensive lineman. You know, it doesn't matter what room you're in. You know, when you're in that room, they kind of always embrace you really quickly. Like, I was only in Miami for a limited amount of time, but I still talk to those guys daily. You know, I'm still in a group chat with them. You know, I still FaceTime Solomon and Rob, you know, talk to them all the time. So that's the one dope thing about being an offensive lineman. It doesn't matter where you are, how long you've been in the room. You know, it's only going to take a couple of hours to click with every offensive lineman. You know, and if you don't click, then, you know, I don't know what to say, but no, it's unusual not to click an offensive lineman because, you know, we're all big guys who take hits for a living. So, you know, the guy behind us can look pretty and throw the ball. So, you know, it's definitely dope being an offensive lineman.
Growing up, you know, in England, what did you know about Las Vegas?
Nothing whatsoever. I did not know a single thing about Vegas. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't even know Vegas existed, honestly. I knew, how many cities did I know about when I moved here? The only city I knew about was the Eagles because I was a Philadelphia fan growing up. Only because I saw Donovan McNabb and, you know, Deshaun Jackson, all those guys play. So, you know, became an Eagles fan out of nowhere. But no, I didn't know anything about Vegas whatsoever.
Were your friends NFL fans? Like, did you have people to talk to about the NFL?
No, it was funny because, I was looking back at some things last night, and I remember I would be in class in England, and I would bookmark every single team for no reason whatsoever, but I would bookmark every single team's website so I could easily just click on the website and just, look at their page. I don't know why I did it, but, I didn't know a single thing about football, and no one around me knew anything about football, and I just really talked to myself. It's like, oh, look at this guy right here. My friend's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, nothing. Just talking to myself. Look, I'm that weird kid just talking to himself about something no one else knows about,
So you're a rugby guy, is that?
Yeah, I played soccer, football for the first 10 years of my life, but then I kind of got too physical and, outgrew that sport. So then I got into rugby, and then I liked rugby, but I felt like there was something missing. And then out of nowhere, I saw the Giants and the Dolphins playing on TV, and, I was like, damn, that kind of looks like that's why I need to be playing. So, yeah.
How do you make that step? I know you moved to New Jersey to go try to learn, I guess, to play football in high school, but
Yeah.
was there anything you could do in England at all, or you just had to say like, I'll watch games and learn what I'm doing? And
So it's funny because I don't think it's around anymore, but there was this on the NFL, like, how there was an NFL website and then there was like a game website for kids. There was this one game where it would teach you about the game of football. I think Sean O'Hara was on it. There was a linebacker from Washington, and it would teach you about the positions and, what every position does, and like the certain pads you wear. You have to like dress the player in the pads he was wearing. So I kind of learned about football playing games on the NFL website in London, which was funny. And then I got the opportunity to play flag football with the London Blitz. So I kind of learned some of the rules there, but you weren't allowed to, make contact until I think he was, 14, 15, and I was only like 10 or 11 at the time. So, really I just learned based off playing video games online on the NFL website.
Was the move to New Jersey for football, or did that life just kind of take your family in that direction?
For me, solely it was for football, but as a family, it was for the opportunity, because in England, there's not as much opportunity as there is in America. I think England as a whole is as big as maybe smaller than Texas. So for me, it was for football. For my family, it was just, for a better life. There was way more opportunity over here. The college system was better. High school system was better in my opinion. There's way more to do when it comes to sports. In England, it's really, soccer or cricket, but they don't really, it's not kind of like how you can play college over here and get drafted. You kind of have to join a bunch of outside leagues and teams in England to get recognized. And, I didn't think I had the talent to do that in football, soccer, or rugby. I kind of was getting on that level, but, I just knew that it really wasn't for me. And moving to America was the best opportunity for me to achieve my dreams.
Did it happen pretty quickly in high school, or?
No, I sucked in high school. I was so bad. I was so bad. I remember, one thing I did, it was funny because these questions are funny because last night I was looking at my emails that I sent to a bunch of schools in high school, and like I'd write this one email and I would replace the name of the school, and I think I sent like 120 emails in high school, and every single school said I sucked and I wasn't good enough. So, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
Well, when did it turn around?
It turned around at JUCO. I went to Lackawanna, walked on there. It was funny because I guess the coaches didn't expect me to be as good as I was my first year there. I didn't expect to be that good. Honestly, I don't know what happened. I guess something just clicked. But being around Coach Duda and Coach Pardini and Lackawanna kind of, they gave me the mentality, even if you don't know what you're doing, just go hit someone and hit them full speed. And, I'm sure someone will recognize you. And so I remember, the same email I sent out in high school, I got that same email kind of updated with like, hey, now I'm in college, now I'm doing this and that, and I have an actual highlight tape to show you. And I remember I sent it to Florida State at the time. That was the first team I sent it to, and within a matter of hours, Coach Fisher got back to me. Who was the OC at the time? Coach Cooley, I think, was the OC, and Trickett was the O-line coach. Literally, they were like, who the hell are you? Like, where'd you come from? And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, damn it. Let's cancel that out. I was like, oh, damn, they getting back to me, and I was saying I suck. And, by the end of the night, I had an offer from Florida State. So when I got that offer, everything kind of just blew up. And, still to this day, I'm like, I wonder what they see in me. I kind of watch my own film, and I'm kind of like, I wonder what they see. I wonder what got me all these offers. I remember being on the phone with Nick Saban and, Coach Sumlin and all these, amazing coaches. I'm like, what do y'all see in me? They're like, we just see this and that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Since you said you had no familiarity with Vegas, what would have been your impressions now you've been here a week or so? How's it been settling in?
Stay away from the strip. That's what I've learned. It's been nice though. I was at practice today. I was like, the mountains and stuff looks like a green screen. The scenery out here is ridiculous. The food out here is really good too. I like it a lot. The West Coast is cool because, the games are on really early here and then they're done by 8 or 9 p.m. So you have the rest of the night just to chill. In the East Coast, the games are on at 8 and then by the time they're done, you're going to bed. So it's definitely been a cool transition for sure.
You've been in the league for a while, but where would you definitely say Monday's game ranks with all the circumstances given?
Number one. It was ridiculous. I've played in a bunch of stadiums, played in a bunch of big games, but that atmosphere, I was telling all my friends and family after the game, like, y'all got to come to this game. Like, y'all got to come to a game out here. Even on offense, we were just like, like the fans are just going crazy. On defense, that's probably the loudest I've heard a stadium before. The atmosphere with Bruce Buffer introducing the teams. You had the DJ Steve Aoki out there. That was ridiculous. And then the Raider Nation, that was my first time getting introduced to that, like this fan base. It was ridiculous. Though rest probably, I'm sure I'll have some other favorite games this year, but right now that probably ranks number one for me.
But I know Lackawanna's more eastern Pennsylvania, but any special thing about going back to Pennsylvania to play this week?
No, I didn't think about that, honestly. No, not really. I was in Scranton, Pennsylvania out there, so it's the home of nothing whatsoever.
That's what I was getting at. A British guy going to Scranton. British office, American office, which is better?
American office. I'm a big Office fan. Michael Scott. I love The Office so much. I could watch those episodes all day. I could watch I've watched The Office maybe 3 times over now, and it never gets old. I find myself laughing at the same jokes every single time. I love that show so much. Didn't even know about it when I was at Lackawanna though. Had no idea. I literally started watching it maybe a year ago, and I've watched it 3 times over. That tells you about my life right there.
Speaking of the sitcoms, familiar with Ted Lasso then?
That name sounds really familiar.
He's the American football coach who goes to coach a soccer team in London. Something you're kind of the reverse of Ted Lasso.
What's it on, like Hulu, HBO?
Apple
TV? The name of the show is Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso.
You know what, I'll give that a try. I didn't know about that.
Accent starts to come out a little bit too.
Yeah, see, the more I get talking, the more my accent starts to come out, and I don't even hear it. Everyone's like, where's your accent? I'm like, I don't know. And then, I start talking like, oh, there it is. That's how my life has been so far. I don't hear, but other people hear it.
How do those Raider fans compare to those British soccer fans?
Those British soccer fans are pretty crazy. Soccer fans in general. There's a couple videos online. If you go to Juventus game or a Roma FC game, and you're wearing different colors, those fans could jump you. I don't know if Raider fans are like that. I heard it gets pretty crazy out here. I was on TikTok. I was on TikTok and this funny Raiders TikTok came up and said, if you're in a different color jersey, you could get jumped at Raiders game. I don't know if that's true, but if that's what it's like, then it's pretty similar then. Because in England, if you lose a game and you're wearing a different color jersey, you probably could get jumped. Because fans are salty over there. So I don't know how, but I've never been to a soccer game over there. That's one thing that I have to do ASAP. But no, I think the fan base is similar.
All right, thank you, Jermaine.
Thank you.